Me? Man, I guess I could, man. I got a little bit of time. Welcome to Test, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. As always, so we do have the Speed Chess Championship going on right now, as you guys probably know. So I do have Magnus Carlsen versus Tuan Min Lee. And it's always very interesting when you have Magnus Carlsen playing, because is he going to be regular Magnus or is he going to be Super Saiyan Magnus? So you never know, bro. But of course, all my people from the Philippines, I will say Maraming Salamat. Anybody who is coming from Norway, I will say Tusen Tak. Anybody who is coming from Vietnam, I will say Gamon. But if you're ready to go, man, let's take a look and see what we got for this game. So we got the move D4. We got D5. We do see knight coming to F3. All super standard stuff. Knight to F6. And then we have bishop F4. We do have a London. It's kind of like a little bit of a delayed London. The true, super true London is going to be D4, D5, and then bishop F4. This one kind of gives you a little bit of flexibility. You do not have a knight to H5 possibility here, because you'll probably just drop back to bishop to D2. And you still develop your bishop, but you are avoiding the capture. When you do it the more immediate way, you pretty much have E3 played immediately, kind of getting the structure, trying to set this type of structure up here. And so knight to H5, I mean, it can be kind of annoying depending on, you know, your preference level. We do see C5 in this position. We got the move E3, you know, getting into the standard London setup. We do see queen going to B6. Now, there's two reasons why you play queen to b6. Either, you know, the pawn has been abandoned immediately and you just attack it, or it's a way, kind of like a French defense type of way, to try to, like, prevent the development of this bishop here. I'm a French player myself, so queen to b6 is always pressuring d4, but it's trying to make it really hard to kind of, you know, develop this bishop legitimately. We got the move c4. Now, this b2 pawn is actually hanging. Some of you guys might be kind of wondering, like, wait a minute, man, like, is he just neglecting the b2 pawn? It is an actual variation. It's actually the strongest variation that black can go into. But, I mean, you're playing Magnus Carlsen, so sometimes you kind of look at it like, man, is he trapping me? So, you know, people see ghosts all the time when they're playing Magnus, so you cannot blame Lee for that right there. So we actually see him go e6 in the game. But for those of you guys that are wondering, I mean, queen taking b2 is the absolutely preferred variation. You would be seeing knight b to d2, pawn would be taking d4, knight taking d4, and this is absolute best play for black. And I mean, black is just a pawn to the good here. There's like no traps or tricks or anything going on, and you are just good to go. But like I said, you see ghosts, so we see the move e6 just being extra safe, extra solid. We got knight coming up to c3, pawn still hanging. Pawn takes d4, queen takes d4, challenging the queen on b6. We do see bishop to c5. Since you do have this f2, e3 pawn structure constructed, you don't really have any issues with this battery on, you know, going towards your king side. So you just drop back with queen to d2. Everything is everything. We got bishop to b4, queen slides over to c2. We got castles by black. We got bishop to e2. Pawn takes c4. And this is generally preferred by people that kind of play Queen's Gambit Decline type stuff as black. You know, to wait until this bishop is developed somewhere before you go pawn takes c4. It kind of gives you the illusion that you waste white at tempo, but I mean, white is a tempo up at the start of the game, so it's generally not a problem. But after we do see pawn taking c4, Magnus is in no hurry to get this pawn back. He's like, bro, I'll get it back whenever I feel like it. So we got castles by white. We got bishop takes, pawn takes. It was legitimate to take with the queen as well. You just kind of can add a little bit more pressure to this c4 point. Just kind of how you feel like playing. We do see knight to c6, rook f to d1. Always useful to put a rook on a completely open file. You're good to go. We do see queen going down to a5. We got bishop taking c4 finally, and then we do see the move e5. Now, in this structure that we have right here, one of the issues that you did have as black is it's really kind of hard for you to develop this bishop to a legitimately good square. You kind of have like a French defense, Caro-Kann defense position, you know, structure kind of set up. So this definitely is your problem piece. So e5 is definitely something to try to get that bishop to like a much better square. So we do see bishop going to g5. We got the move e4. And this is the novelty of the game. We've actually seen a lot of these moves before. It kept kind of jumping up and down. But we have, this is the first time we have seen the move e4. There can be a reason for that. It is actually best in this position to go bishop takes f6. And it is preferable to go pawn takes f6 as a response. But we see Lee going pawn taking f3, kind of thinking that it's like an in-between move. Like it's like, hey, man, you know, I'm getting your piece, you're getting my piece. And, you know, you kind of can decide how you want to kind of play the game further. So I leave it up to you. There is a killer blow that Magnus Carlsen has in this position. Leave it to him. He will find it. So try to see if you can, you know, possess your inner Magnus and see if you can guess the move that we need to put on the board right now. Okay, cool. So if you noticed that you could place a move on the board that attacks this queen and kind of get you into like a more safe environment, then you would have come up with the move rook to d5. This is an absolutely perfect move because it is hitting this queen. The queen has to move somewhere, and it will actually allow you to go rook to g5 after, and you are saving your bishop because now this pawn is pinned. So this is absolutely the perfect move in the position. So if you found rook to d5, I mean, I applaud you, bro. I mean, you know, or broette, whoever you are. We do see queen going back to b6, and then we see rook going over to g5. And it is in this position that Lee does resign the game. And so this is kind of like a miniature game, but this is a perfect example of developing your pieces if you are black, because one thing you should notice is this bishop never got developed. This rook has been alone in the corner. I mean, you have gotten castled, but I mean, look at white in this game compared to black. It is not even a comparison. So some of you guys might probably wonder in this position, like, wait, okay, wait a minute. Like, is it that lost? Like, can I kind of do something to defend myself? No. That's the short answer. The long answer, I will give you guys some different possibilities. Now, backing up before we get into these different possibilities after rook to g5, because that was what was played in the game. You know, we did kind of have Daniel Naroditsky. He was commentating, and he did, you know, basically say you could also put a rook to h5 on the board. And there's really not a whole lot that you can do in this position here. I mean, you know, you don't have a situation like this because you would be looking at the beautiful queen sacrifice, queen taking g6. This would be the only move. And then because your dark squares are so weak, you have an absolute checkmate right here. So that was also something else that maybe he could have done. But like I said, we did see rook to g5. So in this position here, best case scenario, rook's in, it mates in 7. So if you did want to like basically postpone checkmate for the longest, you would be looking at rook to d8, rook taking g7. You have to step over to f8. You would be looking at rook taking f7 with check. The king would slide over. You would be looking at queen taking h7. And I mean, checkmate is about to come on the board really soon. So it actually says that this is the best way to postpone checkmate. Queen to b1. What? Exactly. Dude, like, you do not want to do this if you're playing your game. Like, resign before this point, bro. Like, just resign. Like, don't try to play any further. But if we do not see that variation, you know, you probably might be thinking something like, man, maybe g6 might could work. But you kind of have a similar idea as you had before, that you can just start kind of like, you know, sacrificing the whole kitchen sink. Rook takes g6 with check, and then after pawn takes, you would be looking at queen to g6, and this is checkmate, because of the fact that this bishop is pinning this pawn down. So that was the most important, one of the most important situations there. Keys in the position. So this is another example of when you put a bishop on this diagonal going towards the king, that it does kind of lend itself to all kinds of different sacrifices and things like that. So those are all the different kinds of ways that maybe the game could have ended. You know, but you could only postpone checkmate for so long. So like I said, I like this game because it was nice and short and sweet. And it also gave you a good, you know, example of when you don't develop all of your pieces, you know, you can get into some very real trouble. So that was nice. So, of course, all my people coming from the Philippines, maraming salamat king makaibigan. Post na nunod ng king my video. Anybody who is coming from Norway, I will say God Morgan to you. Tusen tak. I appreciate you guys very much. Anybody who is coming from Vietnam, I will say Jiao Mui Nui and Gamon. I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by, and I'm going to see everybody next time.